Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thank you for joining us, whether it is morning, afternoon, and evening, wherever you are. We're so excited to have you here with us. So, before we begin, I want to name something that today is the 12th of August, which means today is International Youth Day. And honestly, there's no better way for us to be having this conversation. Because every year this day asks the same question out of all of us. Are we actually creating a space for young people to lead? Not just to be present, not just to be consulted, but to lead. And that question is what has brought us here today. Over the past few weeks, or past months actually, as part of Green Action Week Youth Program, we have been on a very cool journey together. We started by exploring who we are, our values, our identities, our relationships that shape how we show up in the world. Then we moved into action, hearing from young change makers turning in those values into real work on the ground in their own communities. And today, we bring those threads together. Today, we ask, how does that personal work, that thing that moves one young person to act, grow into something bigger? How does grassroots energy connect with institutions, with networks, the systems that even carry it further? That's what Self to Systems is all about. It's not a straight line, and it's not always an easy relationship, but it's one of the most important relationships of our time. And over the next hour, we're going to hear directly from people living on both sides, two incredible change makers working at the grassroots, and two leaders from international organizations working to support them. All right. And also just noting that this isn't a lecture. It's not a formal panel of experts reading from prepared remarks. It's a conversation and aimed to be an honest one, with a space for nuance, for disagreement, for the kind of practical truth-telling that actually moves things forward. We want you, everybody that's in this room, in it too. So stay with us and get ready to bring your questions later in the hour. Before we get into that, I want to hand over to someone who has been the heartbeat behind this entire program. She's the program coordinator for Green Action Week at SSNC, and she's going to anchor us into why we're really here today and how you, wherever you're watching from, can get involved. Please welcome Sarah Nilsson.
Thank you so much, Kiamu. And I'm so happy to be here today. So greetings to you all. As Kiamu said, I'm Sarah Nilsson, and I am Green Action Week coordinator from SSNC, Swedish Society for Nature Conservation. And together with Consumers International, we coordinate the Green Action Week campaign. So greetings from Sweden. Actually, today is quite a special day. It's International Youth Day. That's very special. But in Sweden and Europe today as well, it's a solar eclipse. And that's quite special. But where I am, the weather decided to be cloudy. So I will look at the sky and I will imagine the eclipse through the cloud. But imagination is actually one of the most important ingredients we have. One of the most important abilities we have to imagine a better world is really a key to achieve real change. So that is what I will practice later today through the clouds. But before, as Kiamu said, before we kick off this session with the four amazing speakers and change makers for today, I'm so much looking forward. I want to shortly introduce the Green Action Week. If some of you who are here today might be new to Green Action Week, so I want to introduce it shortly, and as Kiamu already said, how you can take part. So Green Action Week is, as you can see on the slides, it's a global campaign that promotes sustainable consumption through the theme of sharing community. It's a celebration of creative, practical ways we can support each other and the planet. And every October, groups around the world come together to share knowledge, resources, skills, spaces, tools, practical solutions to live more sustainably and build stronger, more resilient communities. And the aim is not only to raise awareness, but also to support real action and collaboration at community level. And over the years, many organizations have participated in the Green Action Week campaigns. And together, we have become to form a community of practice. And we share knowledge, experience, and tools and learning from different campaigns and contexts throughout the world. And we are connecting local actions and creating real change through worldwide connection. And we do this in several ways. We do this through knowledge sharing webinars. And we will shortly tell you more about the next upcoming webinar. And we do this through ongoing conversations on our WhatsApp group and by developing joint communication materials and books as the anthology of sharing community that we developed this year. So everything is on the webpage, so you will find everything there. And this helps us to build a collective understanding of what really works and what challenges we face and how we can strengthen the impact together. And there are, as we said, still one more, apart from this one, there's one more knowledge exchange left for this year. And you're really very, very welcome to join Green Action Week. Green Action Week is open to support, and it's open to anyone that supports our vision. And whether you're part of a group or a school or just one person who cares, your action can be small, it can be big, it counts anyway. And this is how you do. You host or connect an activity during the first week of October. You share your action and your story with the global community, and you can share it on social media if you hashtag Green Action Week. And you can stay connected through the webinars and learning exchanges throughout the world. And we have a starters pack at the website that you can download with a lot of information and communication materials. And you are welcome to reach out to us in the communication teams anytime you want, and we will do our best to answer all of the questions you have. So most welcome to reach out to us, most welcome to visit the webpage and download the starters pack. And Green Action Week is a growing global movement for sustainable consumption. And of course, the more we are, the more we can reach out to. So again, most welcome to new participants and to old. So by this, I am more than happy to hand over back to you, Chiamo, to introduce the first speaker.
There we go. Sorry, a little technical moment. Thank you so much for that, Sarah. And I hope that has encouraged everybody to get involved, because this really, really is such an exciting initiative around taking action. All right, so it's time to hear from our change makers. And before I introduce our first change maker, I'd love to share a quote. We had asked each of our speakers to just share from their perspective based on a prompt, the change I want to see. So from our first speaker, the change I want to see is a compassionate, nurturing society where people, including the youth, live in dignity and thrive alongside the natural world. A society that guarantees food, shelter, livelihood, self-expression, and political engagement. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce Kweyn, who is a queer, trans, non-binary, creative storyteller, climate activist, and community organizer, working as the campaigner for reuse with the plastic-free Filipinas. Please, can you help me with that pronunciation, Kweyn? Project at EcoWaste Coalition in Philippines. Their work advances the reuse economy and practical alternatives for single-use plastics, grounded in Indigenous knowledge and zero-waste principles. Over to you, Kweyn.
Thank you so much, Gamma, for that wonderful introduction. I think it wasn't my code, but I would love to share it. Yeah. It was like about like a future that we would not wish to ask for more if everything is ready, if everything is available for us to take up space for the youth. So yeah, nice to meet you all. Happy International Youth Day. I am Kweyn Tagaduar from the Philippines, and I am from the EcoWaste Coalition under the project Plastic Free Filipinas, who's also like part of the many work that the EcoWaste Coalition, especially for in the work of reuse and refill systems, and at the same time working in the betterment of the waste management in the Philippines. So yeah, I haven't prepared my speech for this session, but as we speak, I want to share how I was molded to become not just a leader, but part of the community that really empowers people to um, become the becoming that they would become the person that they would love to be. So Equates Coalition is a coalition of 100+ member organizations here in the Philippines working towards toxic-free and zero waste communities. And I am working for reuse as a campaigner, and we are focusing on the reliving and reintroducing the culture of reuse systems in the Philippines. I know that it's existing in different parts of the world, but in the Philippines, it's part of the culture that we are cultivating, the culture of care, from how we value things, from how we see things as part of our lives and waste as a resource that we can always realize how important the consumptions or the things that we consume from now on and also in the Philippines, we always say that we are not the biggest polluter of the plastic or the waste volume that we are receiving from from every day. So in the Philippines currently, it's raining, it's typhoon season. Everyone is in the battle of surviving these seasons of typhoons and different calamities. And I am privileged enough to be here together with Kenneth from MASIPAG and our colleagues. And I know it's pretty late from the Philippines, but we are very happy to share that this is a collective effort. That's why we are here. That's why the world is hearing us our testimonies of experiences from how we um, navigate the world through youth leadership and participating in civil society movement. So, as from the title of our session for today, I think it's very personal and at the same time, it's very communal that the self as a starting point for discovery. A place where we all started to believe in, a place where we all navigate what are our capacities, what are our potentials, and what our becomings look like in a space that really um, challenge us to become the person who we always say we wanted to be, but how do we see ourselves from the perspective of a collective or a community that practice nurture of care and collective efforts. So from the self and to the systems, we are creating spaces for young people in our communities, not just the young generation, but also I believe that it is a intergenerational effort to make such an impact or a change in a community that really challenge how it is important to have a representation, a seat on a table. Um, a young a young leader wants dream of becoming someone in the future to lead a community and maybe some of the leaders who will be leading the nation. But allow me to refrain myself from speaking and using the I instead of I will enrich the sense of belongingness from using we because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't because of the communities that nurture me to become this person who am I today. And in the work of reuse and refill in the systems in the Philippines, it's extra challenging. We know how plastic really cover us all, or really people depend on the convenience of plastics. And I personally we personally do believe that it is our guilty pleasure to use plastics sometimes that we don't have any option if there are no accessible or alternatives that are available in the store. But from having the story of people from the household, from the family, from each individuals we work with, it's a story of how the systems really um, took the space for us to not see how what are the impacts of plastics in our lives. And that's where reuse and refill systems in the Philippines are very significant. We value how indigenous knowledge, the culture of care, from how we get back to the basic or go back to the basic of lifestyle, how we see things as how our ancestors taught us to value the things that are very significant to our environment. As we all say that everything is connected to everything else, it's a very um not just a campaign that we do, it's not a work that we do, it's a community that we protect. It's the people and the planet that we protect from having the systems, from having ourselves get into the systems, to go back to the systems that we call ourselves a community of where we practice this collective and how we value people, from how we socialize, from how we wake up in the morning, from how we see these mothers teaching their children to use things for more than its purpose. So it's not little, it's really challenging in the Philippines that now that we are seeing the impacts of plastic crisis and the poor waste management, not just here, but also all across the world, that we see how big corporations, how polluters really invade the lives that we are protecting, and the so-called home that we are kind of losing. And it's the youth now is has the big role that we didn't ask for, that we take this responsibility of doing such an action that in fact we are all responsible for doing for resolving this, not just as youth, but also recognizing the need for intergenerational commitment to sustain and to protect how we want the world, not rule the world, how we envision or visualize the world that would really share a space for not just young people, but for all human beings, for the ecosystems that we can all share together. So we are happy that in the Philippines, we are starting, or we are reliving, we are reintroducing the culture um, of reuse and refill, from how we teach mothers to go back to the basic of resourcing the things that are not necessarily plastics, but sometimes they are the things that we do not realize they are as important as how we take care of ourselves, from how we see things as part of ourselves. So as I realize now that this self, we know how systems are very structured systems that have this kind of design that really limit us to imagining things. But we could also imagine things from the systems that we created. I know it's very human centric. It's very we know that the systems are could limit us from our potential to impact people, from being to better our systems. But also we recognize that for as long as we value things from how they are produced, from how they from for their purpose, we know that these things are not just systems, but it is a culture that we are trying to relive and we are trying to make sense of. And as of this moment, I know some of our colleagues are here, but the Philippines is now in the big fight of challenging the government, the systems that we are having now, from not investing to technologies that are not gonna benefit the people and the planet, but instead it's gonna crash us all and will destroy us all from choosing decisions that are, of course, youth are not participated or not engaged with these decisions. So yeah, and I would love to share this all. I know it's a limited time for us to talk about these things, but I'd love to see and hear more people to be in this space to cultivate what we have started. And yeah, happy to share this International Youth Day with you all.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And just so rich. I really appreciate the naming of Indigenous systems and actually being able to honor our communities and pour that care back as well as we're honoring the planet. So our Indigenous systems carry all the codes for our relationality with the planet. So yeah, thank you for that, Quinn. And please share in the chat how people can reach you if they want to learn more, because yeah, this hour session doesn't really give us enough time to delve into it. We know we can speak on this for a long time, myself personally, but we're so grateful for your share. And just to close off, I did find the right quote and I apologize for sharing the wrong one. It's the change I want to see is the kind of change that leaves no one behind, a world where we no longer ask for more because everyone is living the life they deserve. So thank you so much, Quinn. Beautiful. All right, I'd love to introduce our next speaker. Also from the Philippines, we have Kenneth with us here, who is a queer rural development advocate and advocacy officer at Mindanao, at MASIPAG, a farmer-led network in the Philippines. He works with people's organizations on campaigns centering farmer empowerment, agroecology, and the revival of sustainable farming. Especially with the knowledge that has been disrupted by colonial and profit-driven food systems. So without further ado, please welcome your voice, Kenneth.
Thank you, Kiamu, and greetings from Davao City, Philippines, and happy International Youth Day, everyone, to wherever you are watching and listening to this Green Action Week webinar. I'm very grateful to be here and honored to be sharing this space with fellow young leaders and knowledge holders from different communities across the globe. So yes, I'm Ken. I'm the advocacy officer for Mindanao of the MASIPAG. MASIPAG is a farmer-led or network of small-scale farmers, scientists, and non-governmental organizations dedicated in our mission to improve the quality of life of the resource-poor farmers through farmer-led agroecology. And to everyone, Masipag, about 41 years ago, a small group of scientists and smart farmers are were trying to unmask the myth of the Green Revolution here in the Philippines, particularly the introduction of miracle seeds and the chemical-based farming practices across communities, which is also reflection of the issue on the tightening control of corporate interests in the food and agriculture sector. And so from there, Masipag have grown over the years, and we are from our programs from strengthening organizations to developing and promoting agroecological practices and advocacy on farmers' rights. We want the youth to be actively participating in these initiatives, local initiatives, and grassroots solutions. Because in our organization, we believe that youth are not just victims of our current situation. Youth are Filipino youth in particular, including are youth quick to learn and passionate and open to recognizing and accepting new ideas, and they are willing to try new things and discover new knowledge. But however, their potentials, Filipino youth, their potentials are hindered by various conditions and obstacles, among which were mentioned previously by Queen. So these obstacles, including not just in Philippines, but across the world. We could say that we are definitely in bleak times. We are confronted by different challenges from the collapsing balance of our ecosystems, the economic and political challenges, imperialist plunder, and damages to our communities. And also in Philippines in particular, as what Queen said, the shrinking civic spaces. So here in the Philippines in particular, critical thinking are discouraged, especially among the youth. And we are deprived of such spaces to ask questions, to test ideas, and learn as we go. So that's what we are trying to work on in Masipag. So in promoting agroecology, we're also providing spaces for the youth to learn the technical aspects on agroecology, but also understanding themselves and their how they are interacting or related to the environment or the systems around them. So I do hope that in my work as advocacy officer and our work in Masipag, that the youth and the people, the farmers that we are engaging with, learn more about themselves, and they have reconnected with their own power, and they are inspired to wield their power to create meaningful changes in their communities. Because I believe there is a need to appreciate what seemed to be a utopian vision of a better future, but that future is very much possible. And so that future as well is rooted in equity, in justice, and abundance, and knowledge sharing. So I hope we continue as youth continue to strive for that future through our small incremental gains and actions in our communities. I think I will stop there for now. Thank you so much, and looking forward to hearing more from the other young leaders.
Thank you so much, Kenneth, and also joining us from a very late time zone in relation to us. So we also just appreciate that. I love what you said too around youth are not just the temps. We're actually quick to learn, we're passionate and ready to discover new knowledge. And I think that's a very important perspective for us to hold as individuals, but also in the institutions that we end up, helping to build, helping to grow, just as we're doing the same. So I really love that. Thank you. Amazing. And the quote shared from Kenneth is, "The change I want to see is a compassionate, nurturing society where people, including the youth, live with dignity and thrive alongside the natural world. It's a society that promotes basic human rights, guaranteeing food, shelter, livelihood, self-expression, political engagement, and vital social services." So yeah, we all deserve that change and fully with that. Thank you. Great. So I'd love to introduce sorry, just to round that up, these are Quinn and Kenneth are our speakers from a grassroots perspective. And now speaking on organizations, people who are working within youth-oriented organizations, we have the next round of speakers. So first I'd like to welcome Tashi. Tashi holds a postgraduate diploma in sustainable development from Stellenbosch University's Sustainability Institute, with over 6 years in urban agriculture and environmental education across Cape Town. She works at Future African Cities on urban food systems and coordinates the AfriFood Links Youth Ambassadorship Program. So yes, over to you, Tashi.
Thank you so much. Yeah, happy Youth Day to everyone. I'm calling in from Cape Town. That's where ICLEI Africa is based. But ICLEI is actually a global organization that works with local governments for sustainability. I want to acknowledge that something that we all know, which is that young people are really carrying the heaviest burden of climate change, pollution, and rapid urbanization, and the lack of planning and action in many cases from our local governments and national governments. And that's increasingly being recognized. We're leading up to 2030, to the end of our Sustainable Development Goals. And there's recognition that we haven't really achieved many of those goals we set out collectively. And there's an increasing push to try and localize the SDGs, which is, I think, really important for this conversation. As we work with local governments in Africa, I want to spotlight that the median age of Africa's population right now is 19 years old versus the median age of our national leaders, which is 63. And what this tells us is that the priorities of young people aren't being accurately reflected in decisions being made, plans being made that concern young people and that concern issues like climate change, rapid urbanization, and all of the impacts that come along with that. So I want to name food as a kind of clear gap in this, because food is this intersecting system. And as ICLEI Africa, a lot of our youth programming comes out through our food projects. So we work with local governments to help support them to develop sustainable urban food strategies and to pilot projects in their cities. And we can't exclude young people from both these actions, but also conversations. Across Africa, and I think it's similar in many countries and regionally too, is young people disproportionately are represented in kind of precarious work in urban food systems. They work in the service industry as often as waiters or kitchen staff. They're very overrepresented in informal trade and informal markets, but they lack decision-making power in many cases. So as I said, as you can see in the slide, is they're not represented when it comes to political or technical decision-making within their cities, even though they're overrepresented within their urban food systems. And as ICLEI Africa, what we really try to do as an institution and really want to encourage across local governments, yeah, you can move to the next slide. Thanks, Kiamo. Encourage other institutions and development organizations to do is how do we better support what we like to call intergenerational co-leadership. So shifting away from this idea that we need more platforms for youth to speak to other youth about youth issues, and rather looking at how can we facilitate dialogue and action. But let's start with dialogue. How can we facilitate dialogue between youth and older, more represented decision makers within the cities that these young people are functioning in? So one of our projects, AfriFood Links, we hosted an intergenerational dialogue in person. We brought 20 young people from 20 cities and city officials from the cities together in a room and gave them the opportunity to share their concerns. So not just the youth sharing concerns with their city officials, but vice versa. And they'd actually put each other in a position where they switch hats. They put themselves in each other's shoes so that their young people firstly can better understand the complexity of the challenges that city officials face. And the city officials could better understand the concerns of young people and also hear that frustration of not being represented in many cases. So these are the kinds of institutional mechanisms that we're really encouraging within local government and within development projects that we think is really meaningful. And then the second thing that I think is so important to encourage young leaders is to create platforms and legitimacy as big organizations. So ICLEI Africa, for example, has these AfriFood Links youth ambassadors, and we encourage them to tell stories about their urban food systems. And what's important about that is that they tell these stories, we share them, they become more visible to the city officials in those cities, but they also come with a sense of legitimacy, institutional legitimacy. So you're not just a young person in a city with a goal of telling stories. You're a young person with a goal of telling stories in your city, and you've got an organization that's paying you a stipend. So it's not firstly unpaid labor. It's connecting you with partner organizations and city officials in your city. And then it's also providing platforms for these stories to be shared much more broadly than perhaps just an online audience, which should not be underestimated. I think young people have really substantial online influence, and I think there we actually have a lot of power as in terms of how we influence systems. So that shouldn't be underestimated, that there's a lot of governance power online. But how do we take this into the nitty-gritty platforms where local government officials are sitting so that we can influence policy, so that we can influence budget cycles and these kinds of things? So this is another pillar of where I think institutions can really support young people, is if young people are coming into spaces and are passionate about change, they may not always have the civic education to understand how budget cycles work, how decisions are made, what policy making even looks like. We often hear about policy making, but what is a policy making process, and who are policymakers in general? So to provide some training, mentorship, interaction with city officials, so that young people don't go into spaces unprepared. What we want to avoid is tokenism, right? Where institutions and local governments can say, we have young people in the room, so we've ticked that box, and youth leaders have been included, without it becoming a meaningful exchange and a meaningful engagement. So that's one of the key points, I think, in this conversation, is civic education, backing our young people so that they're not doing completely unpaid work. So I feel really strongly about resourcing young people regardless of the level to what they're engaged. And then backing young people in the way that they want to influence as well, recognizing online influence as a legitimate form of influencing decisions, and creating governance systems that also suit young people and don't exclude them from these kind of more boring and technical decision-making processes. I think there's a middle ground for all of those.
Thank you for that amazing bridging work that you do, Tashi. And I think it's so important what you're speaking to in terms of bringing in these systems of care, a bit of nurture as well around young people, that we're bringing in systems that dignify how young people engage with the systems as well. And yeah, it's really important for us to be equipped to handle what we have been, what's been bestowed upon us in terms of what the future is, as the responsibility holders around what climate, the current state of where the climate is, and our food systems, our human systems as well. So thank you so much for that share. And I would love to just share your quotes on the change that you want to see is meaningful intergenerational co-leadership, where young people do not merely have a seat at the table, but share decision-making power and are recognized fairly and fairly compensated for their contributions. That is the world we seek to see, and we give thanks for that. Thank you, Tashi. And our final speaker for today, I'd love to welcome Ednah. Ednah's voice to the room. Ednah is a communications and networking professional, urban farmer, youth development practitioner as well. She serves as the communications and networking coordinator at YPARD Global, leading strategic communications and partnership visibility for initiatives empowering young people and women in agriculture. Over to you, Ednah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the great introduction, and Warm greetings from Kampala, Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. And I'll start slightly mentioning about what Tashi said about the median age of Africans being 19 years. As an African and as a Ugandan who is a youth, I can recall while growing up, part of our national anthem, as which we always sang during school, always highlighted us as the leaders of tomorrow's Uganda. And from my experience, our country has more than 75% around that is of the total population is comprised of the young people, the youth. So most of those are literally under 35. So unfortunately, we've had one leader who has served for more than 35 years. So it means that about 75% of the total population has not seen a new leader. So we are still asking, what kind of leadership were we singing, or children still singing in school? So happy International Youth Day. Nonetheless, these are the opportunities that give us young people to show the leadership skills that we have, but also they give us platforms to do speak about what young people go through in line with the agri-food systems, in line with climate change, in line with agriculture, agribusiness, and whatever has to do with our livelihoods. So, well, like she mentioned, Ednah Kukundakwe, and I do work with YPARD as the Communications and Networking Coordinator. So YPARD is a global network of young people, and we are celebrating 20 years this year. And tomorrow we have a webinar where we shall be officially celebrating our 20 years with the young people globally. So feel free to check our website and celebrate with us tomorrow in the webinar. And so YPARD in full is Young Professionals for Agricultural Development, and it is a global youth-led network that connects more than 40,000 young people across 60 countries. So from any country that you're logging in, there is a likelihood that YPARD has a country chapter there, and there are young people in that country that are already putting themselves together. These are volunteers, and they are trying to shape the future of agri-food systems at the national level or at the regional level. So at the heart of YPARD, it is more about creating the spaces where young people connect, where they learn, where they lead, where they share ideas and access opportunities, and then they influence the agri-food systems. I would just try to speak about those two pictures. So when you look at these two pictures, these were they were taken in Uganda, and we were launching our winner project. So this is building women and youth-led initiatives and that do support organic agriculture and agroecology in Africa. So we do have young people, and these are 6 youth and interns, and they have what we call the community solutions project. So when we launched this call, we had over 500 people who expressed interest to come and be part of this training program. But unfortunately, we could only accommodate up to 6, and these are from 4 countries or 5. And when we launched this project, these young people had just ideas. And through the training, through the mentorship, through the modules that they've gone through, and through some seed funding that they've received, these people have gone ahead to implement community solutions projects. These projects do support other young people, other women and men in the communities to thrive. And most of them are in diverse agricultural value chains. So what does this mean? It means that young people need opportunities, young people need support, young people already have ideas, but what they need organizations that do support them. So also part of this picture is one of our community solutions intern who is working on kitchen gardening, and that is in Kenya. And she now supports mothers who stay at home, and they're saying you can actually use your backyard garden you develop something like a small kitchen garden where you can grow vegetables and have a nutritious meal. So that is what that young person is doing. And on the other side, we were somewhere in Uganda trying to see the other people who are into cattle rearing and what challenges do they face in that area. So I think one of the reasons why youth participation is so important is that young people need to have a voice in shaping the systems they live with and work with. So in line with that, we do support our young people too and give them platforms. For example, we have the COP17 that is happening in Mongolia and it is starting next week. So we have a delegation of 5 young people who already have a position paper that they are going to present. And evolving young people to understand, to also talk about their issues and then draw solutions is something that we do look out for, because how are we supposed to let people who are not the young people, the youth, make decisions? They develop policy papers, they will not totally narrate what exactly the young people. So YPARD is fundamentally built around the young people themselves. Much of our engagements happen through the country chapters. We have regional networks and thematic communities. We also have events like YPARD cafes, and we have digital platforms where we reach out to these young people. Some of these young people join our country chapters looking for job opportunities. They need like funding, but when they see how the country chapters do work, at the end of the day, they now end up becoming like country presidents, co-country presidents. Initially, I was part of YPARD Uganda as a volunteer, where we would have different community projects. We organize them as young people. We do go have community visits. We do have projects, and these were not funded. They were just funded by us, where you're like, we are meeting today and everyone is going to contribute about $5 to cover up for your transport and possibly your food, and let's meet and gather here. And then we'll talk about that. So most of us enter YPARD just like looking for opportunities, but at the end of the day, you find that you're getting other skills from the country chapters, where we just now locally identify the problems around it, get solutions around them, and then that's how sustainable these country chapters are. Please notify me if my time is about to get up, because I might take a little bit of time talking about what we do with the young people. We are not only supporting one young person, we are supporting several young people who then go ahead and create opportunities for others. And this is through the different projects that we always have. Like I mentioned, we always put out one young person, and we make sure that we build the capacity of this person. We give them mentorship, we give them the skills that they need, and we say, you go and reciprocate this, you go and reach out to other young people in your country, you go and reach out to other young people in your district or wherever you are located. So a young person has an excellent idea, but without access to funding, without access to technical support, networks, or any other support, this idea is likely to die. And for me, this is where we need to move to simply talking about youth participation, to talking about youth empowerment, and to talk about partnerships. I think most of us possibly are implementing projects, and these projects, you find that we are just duplicating efforts from one organization to the other. But I feel like coalitions, partnerships that are very, very key towards implementing projects that do support youth will help us reach out to a bigger population. And young people should be involved from the beginning. When priorities are identified, when programs are designed, when resources are allocated, and when results are evaluated. So we always make sure that when we are designing our projects, when we are planning everything, we always build on what has been done by the young people in our different country chapters. So also YPARD is also plays a big role in bridging the space between the young people. Yes, please.
Hi, and I was just gonna ask if you wouldn't mind to start wrapping up, but what you're sharing is very interesting. So please finish
Yeah,
your point.
definitely. So, maybe as I wrap up, we have young people working on community and national levels while also maintaining relationships with the regional and the global institutions. And this has allowed experiences and the ideas from the local communities to enter wider conversations. And while this is also bringing global opportunities and then the knowledge closer to the young people. So our country chapters are especially very important because they do bring the young people together. So as I conclude, because when young people and organizations work together, and there are genuine partners who can now achieve far more than either we can achieve or when we are just alone. But when we are together, there is much more that we can achieve. So I really call upon partners on this platform, the young people on this platform, to please join hands and let's work together towards creating sustainable agri-food systems for the young people and for our countries at large. So thank you very much. It's been a good time, and I'm happy to have spent my evening on the International Youth Day with you all. Thank you very much.
We appreciate that so much, Edna, and that was such a powerful share. Our chats have really been booming in terms of the work that YPARD is doing. And I also just want to mention that you can read a little bit more about YPARD and Afri-Food Links in the Mzizi magazine. So there was a youth edition that went out in June, and yeah, on International Youth Day, I would recommend a reread or checking it out. So the link is posted in the chat. Wow, this has been amazing, and I'm beyond words. My voice is even disappearing. We'd love to hear from everybody that is in the room for the last few minutes of our session. So if you wouldn't mind pulling out your phone, or if you have a device near you where you can scan the QR code, or you can click the link in the chat that has been posted by Hannah Hopper, who is our incredible tech support for this session. We'd love to hear from you, and we have two questions that we'd like to just gather from everybody. The first question is the first one is, Hannah, can I ask you to remind me which one we have first?
Sure. The first question is, describe what it means to be a leader in one word.
There we go. So that will form a word cloud, and we'd love to know what your shares are. If you can find one word, we'd love to know what does it mean to be a leader, especially in the context of youth and all the shares that have been put together. Oh, we're getting some responses already, with empathy generating the most responses. We have decision-making, accountability, participatory, servant leader. That's a very powerful one. Accountability, humble, commitment, inspire, inspiring, and revolutionary. I love that one. And decision-making, inclusiveness, grounded. I think these speak to a lot of the values that we carry as a generation that may differ from the leaders that are currently sitting in leadership positions, as we know. And it's, wow, very beautiful. I'm seeing more dedication, guidance, kind. So lots of care, lots of action, and just finding community and sharing, knowing that we can create change. Okay. I think we've got a lot of responses. And then the next question we'd love to know, in 5 years, I hope, what is it that you hope to see in the next 5 years? Just in a few words, in a simple sentence. Just speaking to the change as change makers, what is the world that we are working towards? What is the world that we are building towards? And just a reminder, the link is in the chat if you need to connect. All right. In 5 years, I hope for better relations between people, between us and nature. That leaders will start caring for people and the planet. Clean world and peace. Intergenerational learning is everywhere, and that is key because, as has been echoed through every share, nothing great is ever achieved alone, and we really do need each other so that, you know, working with other generations helps us build the models for when we are elders and we are needing to impart the wisdom and collaborate with the youth of a future that we may not even understand. The demolition of extractive capitalist practices. We got a revolutionary in the mix. I'm for that. Yes. That young people are trusted and empowered to drive forward our collective sustainability goals. I love that. Youth leading genuine change in creating sustainable food systems. Absolutely necessary. Love over power, values over money. That is key. Young people meaningfully participating in decision-making spaces and influencing decisions and policies that affect their livelihoods. 100%. More youth engagement in agroecology and farming. That is a dream of mine. And I think it's important for us to just really reiterate, reinstate, remember that, you know, farming is such powerful work, such dignified work, and you know, just working with nature offers such a special relationship with the planet that most of us don't really get to experience in some of the systems that we have to serve. A world that is inclusive, agroecology amplified in rural underserved communities, yes, and a new cohort of brave leaders. Thank you. I think we will share these as well as part of this call. I'm so grateful for all of these perspectives because they really are valuable in recognizing what our collective voice speaks to. And can you believe it? That brings us to the end of this session, an International Youth Day. And before we head on, we just want to invite you to the next knowledge exchange, which is taking place the 18th of September. This happens within the Green Action Week community. So Hannah has posted the link if you want to register to join the knowledge exchange. The knowledge exchange is themed from runway to rubbish, fashion's waste trail. It's a very interesting one because we know that fast fashion affects us all. So let's talk about it. And also, if you are a young person looking to join our community, please join our youth WhatsApp group as a way of connecting with young people all around the world. We also share any relevant opportunities that may empower our work, may empower our knowledge, may empower our sense of community as well. So please join us. The QR code is available on the screen. And yeah, we hope to see you there. It's been a very, very exciting journey of building our community. So the more, the merrier. And with that, we have come to the end of our session. So wishing you all a happy International Youth Day. We did it, showing up as young people continuously on platforms online, on the ground, in institutions, in our hearts. So truly thank you to every single one of you. You are all change makers, whether in the making, or aspiring, or actively so. And special thank you also to Hannah Hopper for your amazing technical support and also helping drive this amazing youth initiative forward. She's been absolutely instrumental in our youth webinar series. So it's been such a pleasure to be a part of this journey. And wishing you all an exciting Eclipse Day. So take it easy. We'll continue to connect online and everywhere. Thank you. Much love. Bye, everybody.